You're watching Hindustan Times and I'm Aditi Prasad. The Rafales are finally home. The five fighter jets will resurrect the number 17 Golden Arrow Squadron of the Indian Air Force. I'm joined by Rahul Singh, the Mr. Know-all of all things defense at Hindustan Times, to give us a a full, well-rounded perspective on what is it that what the entire brouhaha is about. Rahul, what's the big deal about these jets? Everybody's talking about them. There's a lot of anticipation, and there's a lot of revelry around the fact that these jets are being inducted into our fleet now.
Yeah, hi Aditi. It's a big day, not just for the Indian Air Force, but for all Indians. Now, please remember, we are inducting imported jets after almost 23 years. The last time we got imported fighters was in 1997 when we got the Sukhoi 30s from Russia. We have
Right.
inducted some planes in between, but those are not fighter planes, and none of those are imported fighters. So we're getting a capability which was long felt, long needed by the Air Force, considering the kind of security environment we live in. And the Rafale fighters will certainly be a game changer for the Air Force with the capabilities that they bring to the table.
Yeah, you said that they are going to be a game changer, with their multi-role capabilities, the electronic warfare, the air defense, the ground support, and the in-depth strikes that possibly are on the anvil with these kind of superior jets. But how the current Indian Air Force fleet, what kind of superiority do the Rafale jets lend to the Indian Air Force? What is it that they couldn't do before now, they will be able to do now?
See, look, Aditi, the Rafale's weapons package is really formidable. It'll give Indian Air Force pilots huge standoff ranges to attack targets. For instance, it is armed with the Meteor air-to-air beyond visual range missile, which has a range of almost 180 kilometers. It also has the Mika missile, which has a range of around 100 kilometers. Apart from
Right.
that, the Rafales are equipped with the Scalp land attack missiles with a range of over 300 kilometers. So, which means you can strike a target which is 300 kilometers away. You don't need to get that close to the target. And also, we are looking at buying another weapon for another smart weapon for Rafale, which is called the Hammer. So, Hammer is basically a guidance system and a bomb kit. So, what you do is you fit it on a standard bomb, and a standard bomb becomes a PGM, and you can strike targets with a lot of precision. And coupled with the weapons package is a very superior radar on the Rafale. It's an ISR radar, so it gives huge, immense situational awareness to the pilots. It can detect targets at a very quick pace, and the pilot can easily decide which weapon to engage, how to engage the target. And also, as you mentioned, Rafale is an omni-role fighter, so it can carry out a whole lot of roles like land attack, air-to-air attack, uh, nuclear strike deterrence, air superiority, sea attacks. And the best part is that it can switch effortlessly from one role to another in the same sortie. So
Okay,
these
and
are these
that
are
of
some
course,
capabilities. Some capabilities. Sorry to interrupt. These
yeah.
are some capabilities which are lacking. We saw it during the in the dogfight with Pakistan after the Balakot attack,
Right.
Balakot strike against the attack against their terror camps in Balakot. Uh, we lost a MiG-21. We shot down a F-16, shot down an F-16 in that aerial combat. But if we had the Rafales, then with their Meteor missiles and other weapons they have, the story of that dogfight on February 27th, 2019 would have been vastly different.
So what you're basically saying that it lends a certain level of, enhanced capability to the Indian Air Force. Despite all there are some who are saying that Indians are making too much out of the arrival of these jets, and they're just at the end of the day they're just jets that are being added into the system. So, I mean, what would you like to say to those people that Indians are making too much about the arrival of
No,
these jets?
no. It's certainly a landmark event, and we've been you know how complex the negotiations were to buy these jets. If we rewind the clock, the process, a global tender was floated way back in August 2007, 7, if I remember rightly, to purchase 126 fighters, and
Right.
it didn't get anywhere. And finally, we went in for a government-to-government deal with France 3 years back to acquire 36 Rafales. So yes, in terms of numbers, I think the numbers are still small. The numbers are inadequate. We're just getting 2 squadrons, and one of which will be based in Ambala, and the other one will be based in after all the jets arrive in Hasimara in West Bengal to take care of both fronts. But certainly in terms of numbers, we are lacking, and we will have to see how do we make up for those numbers, what route we take to buy more fighters, whether we we do it with transfer of technology, we get some more squadrons of Rafale. Those things are being discussed at the highest levels in the government, in air headquarters, and also the current border scenario in Eastern Ladakh has kind of given all these things fresh urgency.
Right. You talked about Eastern Ladakh and the situation that is developing with China at the LOC. You know, how soon, if at all, do you think these jets could be called into play there? I mean, I know I'm asking you a clairvoyant question, which probably is not the right way to go, and probably it's a bit sensational. But do you think the jets could be called into play there to deal
We
with the
now
emerging
we
situation with China?
Okay, so some crystal gazing over here. Now, please remember that air crews and ground crews have been in France for the last 3 years. So they've done nothing but kind of, and after the first jet started rolling out of the Dassault Aviation facility, they've trained on these fighters, they've trained on the weapon systems. They are fairly familiar, uh, more than fairly familiar with the machine and the weapons. But we need to operationalize the Rafale in the Indian environment. So there will be some processes which will be followed over here, and I don't think it'll take much time. I mean, it won't take a very long time for the Air Force if it decides to deploy the Rafales in Ladakh. But also remember, the range of these fighters. And with the refuelers around, so you don't really need to be based at Ladakh itself. So you could fly out from Ambala, get back, and carry out your missions.
Right.
And also, the Rafale comes with a bunch of India-specific enhancements. So which basically means it has capabilities which other Rafales do not have. Rafales bought by other countries, and perhaps even the ones which the French Air Force operates. So,
Right.
and one of those India-specific enhancements is cold start engine capability to operate from high altitude bases such as Leh.
Right. So, how do they compare with the China's? There's a comparison being drawn by various people with China's J-20, the Chengdu jets. They are the
Right,
fifth
right,
generation combat jets with
right.
China. So Rafales are basically 4.5 generation. So, how do they really
Right.
compare with the China's J-20 Chengdu jets?
See, it'll not be fair to compare the two jets because the J-20 is in a different class. It's a stealth fifth generation fighter aircraft, while as the Rafale is 4.5 plus generation aircraft. But the capabilities we discussed, the weapons package, the kind of payload it can carry. Now,
Right.
Rafale has an empty takeoff weight of 10 tons, but its maximum takeoff weight is 25 tons. So a 10-ton aircraft and the maximum takeoff weight being 25 tons. Even cargo planes don't have that kind of ratio between the maximum takeoff weight and the empty weight of the aircraft. So it can deliver a lot of weaponry. It can carry about 10 tons of weapons. We talked about those weapons. So in its class, it's a very formidable plane and a much needed capability for the Indian Air Force.
Much needed capability. The deal with Dassault was for 36 jets. When is the arrival of the remaining jets scheduled? And the 5 jets which arrived today. By when do we see them pressed into action?
See, initially, the jets were supposed to arrive. 4 jets were supposed to arrive earlier this year, but because of COVID and the in the aftermath of the pandemic, things got delayed. But the Indian Air Force made a special request to the French government to speed up the deliveries, which was mostly against the backdrop of what is happening in Ladakh. And so the first batch was supposed to have only 4 planes, but we got 5 planes now. And the deliveries of the 36 jets were supposed to be completed. All 36, according to the original schedule, should have been in by April 2022. But now we'll have all the jets in by the end of next year, end of 2021. So yes,
Right.
they are. They'll keep coming in batches, and even as we speak, 5 additional jets are already ready in France, and our crews are training on those jets. And as more jets roll out of the production line, those jets will be coming here, and in due course, we'll have 36 by the end of next year.
These jets, are coming, are at the will be landing at the Ambala Air Base. Now, what is the significance of the Ambala Air Base in this entire scheme of things, as far as these jets are
See,
concerned?
Ambala is, of course, a very premier airbase. It's been home to MiGs, Jaguars, a variety of other planes. It's also an airbase. It's also a city which has been attacked during the '65 war. Um, my father was in the army. I grew up in Ambala. I studied in Ambala for some time, and there's a church over there called the St. Paul's Church, which was bombed out in, I think, the '65 war. So it has a rich military history. But yes, it's because of the location of Ambala. We're talking about these jets basically looking at the western sector. But frankly speaking, last to last year, the Air Force conducted one of its biggest exercises called Gagan Shakti, in which
Hmm.
we deployed assets from the eastern to the western sector, the western to the eastern sector in a matter of hours. So with refuelers around and other force multipliers, it doesn't really matter where you base your fighters. So, but it's a legacy base for the Indian Air Force, a very premier base.
Right. A very premier base, and now, of course, with the Rafale jets, which are at least some of whom are going to be stationed there, you think? Uh,
Sorry,
you
come
know,
again.
no, sorry, that's okay. I just want to, yeah, I know you have, you're short on time, and so I just want to have one last question with you. This is being touted as India's biggest defense deal, 30 years, probably the biggest defense induction. And there's been a lot of politics around the arrival of Rafale jets in India. There was the 2019 election campaign, saw a lot of back and forth between the opposition and Prime Minister Narendra Modi over these Rafale jets. It became a key point. But really, my what I really want to get to is this particular arrival of these jets. In terms of the fact that it's almost 3 decades after that we are getting this kind of sophisticated arsenal into our defense capabilities. What does this mean for India going forward? And do we see more such acquisitions in this NDA regime going forward? What do you see?
Yeah, see, you're right. We got the Mirages from France in the mid '80s, so it's been decades. We're getting another platform from France, and a very lethal, formidable platform. There was a lot of politics around it in the run up to the 2000, in the run up to the
19.
2019 elections. That's understandable, but I think that chapter is closed. Everybody now knows that it's a very capable platform. India needs these fighter planes. We are short of fighter planes. We should be having, according to various reports prepared by parliamentary panels, they've flagged concerns about, how we don't have enough fighter planes. While we should be having about 44 squadrons to tackle a joint threat from Pakistan and China, our combat squadrons are now they shrunk to about 31, 32, with each squadron having about 16 to 18 planes. So yes, it is a very important induction, but like you said, more is required. It is a step on a long and a bumpy road, because we really need to induct more planes at a swift pace. And like I was telling you before, the current round of border tensions with China have lent fresh urgency to speed up weapon purchases, not wait for such scenarios to arise and then have some kind of a knee-jerk reaction. It's always best to stay prepared, keeping the threats you face in mind. So yes, the Air Force would be looking at more advanced planes. There could be additional Rafales. There could be there's a process in place to buy 114 fighter jets for the Air Force. Some of them will it's under the strategic partnership program. Some of them will come in a flyaway condition. The rest will be built in India through transfer of technology. The project is, it's yet to get started, but I think the current scenario will lend new momentum to projects that have not really taken off and are still stuck at the drawing board.
Right. So that sounds perfect. Rahul, with the Chinese People's Liberation Army on the offensive in the Tibetan Plateau, the Indian Air Force and the Rafale fighter as its spearhead weapon is possibly going to play a key role in deciding the outcome of the battle in case the red flag goes up. Going forward, I hope it's going to be a great addition to our arsenal, and I'm thank you so much for providing all this information to our viewers. And I've not taken up more than I said 15 minutes, so we've stuck to our 15 minutes. Thank you, Rahul, for joining us, and thank you for educating our viewers all about the Rafale aircrafts, their arrival, their induction, and when is the next set going to arrive. Thank you so much. And keep watching Hindustan Times. We'll keep coming to you with additional updates as and when we get them. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, Aditi.